Imagine it's 2026 and you're sitting across from an old friend at a coffee shop. You haven't seen each other in years. At some point in the conversation, salaries come up. They lean in slightly and say, I finally crossed six figures this year. There's a pause, almost like they're waiting for a reaction. 10 years ago, that sentence would have landed differently. It would have felt like a milestone, like a rival, like something that separated you from the average. But now the reaction is softer. You nod, you smile, and then, almost instinctively, you both start talking about rent, mortgage rates, childcare, groceries, taxes. The number hangs in the air, but it doesn't feel powerful. It feels normal. That's the strange reality of 2026. Six figures used to symbolize wealth. Now it often symbolizes participation. Participation in an expensive system that absorbs most of what you earn. On paper, $100,000 still looks impressive, but money is never experienced on paper. It's experienced through pressure, through margin, through how much of it you actually control after life takes its share. And life has gotten more expensive in ways that don't always show up dramatically. Housing is the biggest shift. In many cities, a six-figure salary is the new minimum requirement to live alone in a decent neighborhood without stretching thin. A mortgage payment that once belonged to the upper class now feels standard. Property taxes quietly climb. Insurance renewals sting. Maintenance costs never disappear. Rent follows the same upward curve. When the foundation of your life demands such a large percentage of your income, the number itself loses emotional weight. Then there's the quiet expansion of everyday costs. Groceries that once felt routine now feel strategic. Healthcare premiums that rise without negotiation. Car prices that reflect supply chains and technology upgrades. Education expenses that linger for years in the form of student loans. None of these costs individually erase six figures, but together they reshape what six figures can actually do. And here's where psychology enters. Humans adapt quickly. When you cross into six-figure territory, your lifestyle rarely stays frozen at your previous level. You upgrade slowly. A better apartment, a newer car, travel that feels more comfortable, maybe private school, maybe a renovated kitchen. None of it outrageous, just incremental improvements that match your effort. But those increments compound. Your baseline shifts. What once felt luxurious becomes standard, and once something becomes standard, losing it feels like regression. So six figures doesn't create freedom, it creates maintenance. You're not thinking about what you can build, you're thinking about what you must sustain. That subtle mental shift changes everything. The cultural meaning of six figures has changed too. In the 1990s or early 2000s, it was rare enough to signal clear financial separation. In 2026, inflation alone has diluted its psychological impact. But beyond inflation, there's visibility. Social media has redefined what rich looks like. You're constantly exposed to higher benchmarks, seven-figure entrepreneurs, luxury lifestyles, early retirements. Compared to that constant stream, six figures doesn't feel elite, it feels middle, and middle in today's cost structure feels tight. Zoom out further and you see something structural. Income alone no longer guarantees wealth. Asset ownership does. The people who feel genuinely rich in 2026 often aren't just earning high salaries, they own appreciating assets. Real estate purchased before major spikes, equity in businesses, investments compounding quietly. Meanwhile, many six-figure earners rely entirely on their paycheck. High income, but low leverage. If the paycheck stops, the lifestyle trembles. That dependency is the real difference. Wealth isn't about how much you make in a year, it's about how long you can sustain your life without earning actively. Six figures without assets is just a strong flow of cash, and cash flow feels good until it's interrupted. There's also a deeper emotional layer. Six figures once promised peace. It promised that once you hit that number, you could stop worrying so much. But worry doesn't disappear automatically at a financial milestone. It shifts. Instead of worrying about covering rent, you worry about losing status. Instead of worrying about groceries, you worry about long-term security. Instead of worrying about survival, you worry about sustainability. The pressure evolves, and if your expenses scale with your income, your margin stays thin. Margin is what creates the feeling of richness, the gap between what you earn and what you need, the distance between your lifestyle and your obligations. In 2026, many six-figure earners live in environments where their income is fully spoken for: mortgage, childcare, retirement savings, taxes, transportation, healthcare. After all that, what remains is comfortable but not transformative. You can enjoy life, but you can't ignore the machine that funds it. And when your lifestyle depends entirely on continuous high performance, you don't feel rich, you feel responsible. This is why six figures doesn't automatically translate to freedom anymore, because freedom isn't about income size, it's about optionality, the ability to step back, to pivot, to say no, to take a risk without collapsing your structure. Optionality comes from assets, low fixed costs, and financial design, not from a salary headline. The powerful realization in 2026 is that the definition of rich has shifted from income to independence. You can earn $120,000 and feel fragile. You can earn $75,000 with low overhead and strong investments and feel calm. The difference isn't status, it's structure. Six figures isn't poor, it's just not rare, it's not insulated, it's not automatically powerful. And once you understand that, the goal changes. Instead of chasing the number for validation, you start chasing margin for control. You stop asking how to look rich and start asking how to feel unshaken. Because in the end, rich was never about crossing a salary line. It was about building a life that doesn't tighten around you the moment income fluctuates. In 2026, six figures isn't rich anymore, but clarity is. And the moment you stop worshiping the number and start designing for independence, you move closer to real wealth than any paycheck alone could ever provide.